is extraordinary. But one thing he fell short on, he promised us in 1996, 97, I guess it was, when Windows 98, 97, when the run-up to Windows 98 being rolled out after the Windows 95, was that internet access, IT access, would be part and parcel of being an American citizen, whether it was a poor inner city school in Chicago or a wealthy Silicon Valley executive, let's say the CEO of HP. That has not happened. It still hasn't happened. You know, the president promised us with his broadband plan that that's part of the future of America. I have my doubts. But if you don't have IT proficiency and you don't have access and you're not on a level playing field and you're not being given the tools you need to succeed and you don't have credit, you are in that bad shape. And you know, so I suggest to young people who may be watching this video, and I'm not saying that I didn't make some mistakes as a youngster, but you know, I mean, 7 years is what it's supposed to be before it comes off your record, and that hasn't happened in my case. Don't screw your credit up. You know, you don't have good credit. It's like a security clearance. That's old. You know, you don't mess with things like that. That's your future. So if you don't have those two things, you're in bad shape. So I asked the Larrys of the world, because Mr. Gates, I think, is a fair man, and I might have to switch my services to Microsoft completely, is if you don't have access and you're not being treated fairly, you're in trouble. And when you can't post your photo as your cover to Google Plus, you're screwed. And you know, I may not be the most smartest guy on the block with IT. I grew up in an era where carbon paper in the 70s was used. When I was a teenage boy, the Commodore 64 was considered tech. You know, I'm not the most proficient guy in the world, but I'm a quick study, and I think in a couple of years I could get it all down if given an opportunity. But if I can't get in that door, I'll never have an opportunity to succeed and be the man that Jesus Christ is calling me to be. And technology, like medicine, is it's a right. It's not a privilege that everybody in society should benefit from. And all I can say is that has not been the case for me for some time now. And I won't deny that some years ago, 5 years ago, when I was out to lunch, you know, some of my IT postings were pretty pathetic. There was a lot of plagiarism and a lot of postings that were done in my name that were fraudulent, that I didn't do to make me look bad and crazy not to lunch. So it is what it is, and you know, I'll just have to be patient and hope and trust that that things will change. And I am an optimist. I was reading an article in Time magazine the other day that the human brain is hardwired for optimism. And when I'm biologically sound, I am an optimist. I look at the glass as half full and not half empty. And all of us have had a shitty hand in life. No one's pain and suffering is greater or worse than anybody else's. You know, I think back to a couple of years ago and what happened in Connecticut. And I love kids with all my heart. And if my 5-year-old child was murdered in the way in what unfolded in that town in Connecticut, it would kill my heart. It would drive me into the grave. So I look at the hand that I've been dealt and compare that to that tragedy and say that I'm doing okay. But I will say this about my particular hand that I've been dealt. The variety, that's the operative word, is unparalleled and unprecedented in the history of these United States. And that's the challenge that I have. And that's what I have to overcome. It's not that my suffering's worse than anybody else's. It's been difficult. I'm not going to lie. I've been, you know, hurt in a lot of ways, but we all have. But what my particular challenge is not the magnitude of my pain and suffering. It's the variety. It's a really exotic blend, as we all know. and I'm looking at in the inner sanctums of Washington, D.C., and at the A-list parties who are going to watch this video in real time. It's been an interesting ride for all of us, and I don't hate anybody. I will say this: had I just been given the opportunity in 1992 to come back from California, to go to the State Department where I wanted to go, I wanted to be like Richard Holbrooke and carried out of the building in a body bag and take any job at State, go to the Georgetown School of International Relations, work in the command center of the State Department, where in real time, for example, atrocities that are happening are through our blue helmets at the UN with their cameras on top of their helmets are being recorded for policymakers to view. I wanted to analyze that kind of data, draw up a position paper, and hope that it reached a policymaker, maybe as high as the secretary, and impressed him. That's what I wanted to do. Bosnia is what drove me into wanting to be a public servant. I didn't have any desire to be accessing the Oval Office like George Stephanopoulos. I had no White House aspirations whatsoever. State Department, State Department, State Department. That's all I wanted, State Department. It didn't work out that way. We'll see what God has in store for me. Good night, and God bless you.